Welcome, everyone, to Click Moments and Passionate Pursuits The Unfolding, where intuitively guided conversations are followed with feral faith, enthusiasm, and joy, bringing new insights, inspiration, and perspectives along the way. And we're your hosts, Beth Orr.
And Bridget Corns.
And as you can see, my co-host is quarantined today. She has a sick child at home, taking precautions herself. And so she is doing the right thing and making sure that in her home, everyone is as safe as possible. So thank you for still having this conversation today.
Of course.
And I can't wait to share this with you. Bridget actually doesn't know exactly what I'm going to be sharing. We had a different topic for today that I just wasn't feeling. And so I said to her, I said, hey, I have a topic that I want to share. And she's just willing to riff with me. So I appreciate that. I have to tell you something that happened. And I'm still processing it. So I would love to process it with you in real time and get your sense of what this is and talk about it more. So it was about a week or two ago. And I guess it was probably about a week ago. And all of a sudden, at the end of the day, I was here in my apartment and I realized I'd had an entire day where moment to moment I had walked. I had been in my apartment working. I had been doing stuff related to my calendar. I had been doing like all of these things. It was like I wasn't like not doing anything and just sitting around. Like literally, I had been busy all day. And at the end of the day, I realized that I kept having these moments of awareness where I was tuning into my body and I recognized that I was having moment to moment happiness and no matter what I was doing. If I was walking, I was so happy to be walking. I was like literally like I could feel the sun on my face. It was still cold, but yet I was like, oh my gosh, that sun feels so amazing. I feel so happy. I feel it in my body. Like I just would tune in and I could feel like the way I describe it for me is this radiating in my chest and in my torso. Like I could feel this bubbly excitement. And I would look up and I would look at the trees and I would see the breeze and I would tune in and I would feel that bubbling excitement. I would be back in my apartment and I would be cooking lunch. And I remembered being so deeply present with my lunch and making it and then tasting it and then adding different flavors and being curious about how the flavors match. And it wasn't flavors that I traditionally put with something, but it was like, ooh, I want to try this and I want to try that. And I would get all excited, but I was super present. I would be working on my the shift that I'm making to my course, and I would be excited about it. It was like the only thing that I was focused it on. And so like every single thing I was doing, I was only focused on that. And each of those things, because I was only focusing on it, they were they were manageable and they were each things that I was enjoying. And at the end of the day, I had this realization. You are working on things and experiencing life in a way that every single moment today you've just been happy and it's the mundane. It's just the everyday stuff. But yet it really felt like that was the stuff.
Mm.
Like I started to see it as like not a mundane day and not a mundane task and nothing was mundane. That everything, it's like Rob Bell says, everything is spiritual. It was like every single thing that I was doing was a spiritual experience and exercise. And it was like I was being invited to see the beauty in it.
What you just said pinged me
And
to,
it's 3:33.
that's cool. What you just said pinged me to a post I saw. Do you know Andrea Gibson?
Hmm.
Okay.
Our listeners may not.
Andrea Gibson is the Colorado Poet Laureate. Um, they are a non-binary cancer fighter slash survivor, and their poetry is absolutely incredible. And they posted, less than a day ago, on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, raindrops are much bigger than they are on Earth and fall so slowly you could look up, spot one coming, and move out of the way. Imagine seeing that for the first time, rain inching down from the sky, how wide your eyes would be as you followed each dreaming drop to the ground, how you'd be absolutely hypnotized. That's how I feel looking at this world of ours now, knowing our time here is never promised. I heal the disease of being accustomed to beauty. I see the miracle of the aspen tree with its golden leaves like 1,000 yellow lights begging me to slow down.
Mm.
That's all I'm going to read at the moment. Go over to Instagram and follow them if you're curious to read more. But what you said is exactly, I think, the essence of what they were trying to capture, which is absolutely every part of being alive in this body, in this experience right now is miraculous, is so special, is absolutely the most important thing that we could experience right now.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting experience because my first thought was I'm making good choices. My first thought is I've chosen a beautiful neighborhood, someplace that I love dearly, that I just it resonates with me. I love every single activity. Like I've been shifting my work to only include things that I enjoy and that are sustainable to me emotionally. So if it's something that doesn't bring me great satisfaction or life, or if it's something that depletes me, I'm not doing it anymore. And I'm only going to do things that I'm energized by and offer things that are a generous gift to myself as well as others. So my first inclination was I'm making good choices. But then I was like, this isn't the only time I've made good choices. I'm a different version of me to where I'm actually able to slow down. Like because I'm not doing things that deplete me so much, and then I get to have a high vibration and I get to focus on things that don't deplete me because I've been focused on narrowing my life in that way. My makeup, my composition, and my choice of what I focus on allows for me to see everything around me so deeply now that I'm smitten with it. Like everything, like I'm just smitten with all of it, right? Like something as simple as a pen. I'm like, look at how beautiful this color is. Like I'm literally like, I don't see anything as being insignificant. It's all somewhat miraculous to me that this substance exists. It's almost like I'm starting to understand the essence of everything, that I see the beauty in it. And there's nothing like there's nothing that isn't just absolutely like astounding to me, you know? And so it's just this deep presence and this deep Like I'm starting to understand that this moment right now is where it's all at. Like what she said, like we're not promised to tomorrow. I'm not waiting for next week. I'm not waiting for the week after. I'm literally just like, yeah, moment to moment, moment to moment. It's all here right now. This is there's wonder in it all. And it's almost like then when you receive that, there is this feeling, this is really important. There's a feeling inside that we get to dip in and out of. So we have happiness and we do something and we're like, ooh, that was amazing. And I'm up here. Like let's say we go to a theme park and we're on the um roller coaster and we're all exhilarated and then we get done and then we calm down and then we walk to the next ride and then we go up and we're like, woo, this is amazing. And then we kind of come down and then it's like, what if you were to experience happiness and contentment and joy and all of it in the same moment? Like it's just this satisfaction and it just keeps amplifying because the deeper and the longer that you're in it, the deeper it seeps into you. It's like the more you can see the wonder in every moment, the more you can see wonder in every moment. The just the deeper it becomes like the essence of who you are, like deep inside, not just like the surface thing, but it's like this knowing that at any time that if I'm not seeing the beauty in something, that it means that I'm the one who gets to pivot to see the beauty in something because it always exists. And then that means that my happiness is not contingent upon my external circumstances. My happiness is contingent upon my ability to see the beauty in now, which always is.
I'm curious what you had to cultivate in order to arrive at a place where you can sustain that sense of awe and appreciation. Like, what did that take?
First, I think it took the first thing that comes to me is when you go through the worst thing that you've ever gone through, and you can still see the beauty in it. It gives you more appreciation for the beauty that you can see in the moments that you're not dreading or suffering or like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like I think about when my grandmother passed away and I can still see the beauty or this like the divinity in that. And when you witness the grace and the beauty in a moment like that and you receive it, it's like the worst circumstance, the thing that you don't ever want to happen. And even in that, if there is God and you can receive the joy even in that moment, it becomes easier in the moments that don't have that intensity. So if I can see God in that situation, then certainly I can see God in the flower that I'm walking past or the gold grass that goes along the river. It's 10 degrees out, so cold. And there's like little drips of frost and frozen just drops of water on this grass. It's like you can see it more deeply, and all it is just beautiful. And it's all that's in front of you. Like you can just like it's the river, it's the sun hitting the river, it's the grass with the drops, it's the fact that there isn't ice on the walkway. Um, that because it's so cold, there's only like 10 people out. Like it's all these little things, and I'm like, wow, I can see it all so deeply, and it's all beautiful. And it's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. That there's clothes warm enough for me to be out here. Thank you. And it's just like there really is something too when they talk about like practice. We talked about this last week, like practice. And when you practice being grateful for things, then you start to see more things to be grateful for. And it becomes just part of you. And at some point, you wake up one day and everything you see, you're grateful for. And that was what that day was. It was like a culmination of a practice where I had the belief and the faith that if I stuck with this practice, that it would keep growing within me. And then one day it was just easy. I just like, it was just like, it just kind of like, wow, I feel happy all day. And my situation, my circumstances weren't anything special. It was just a day, right? But yet it felt like it was a cultivation of gratitude, a desire not to be bitter or angry with loss, and a desire to create and co-create a life that I could help people, but I also was allowing my life to be such that I wasn't suffering. That I got to create a life that where I was happy too. That I didn't have to be without to do good for others, but that I got to be a part of that equation too. Right? Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm curious as you're talking about this. I just like I keep saying I'm curious. This is so fascinating to me because what you're describing makes me think, okay, since then, has that been a perpetual state for you?
I would say I recognized it that day, but I've also recognized more times than not, hey, it's still kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's still like my resting state. It's like this inner peace with my circumstances, and it doesn't mean that everything's perfect, although I don't know what's imperfect about it. um yeah, almost. It's there's a deep rest with the way things are,
Ah, okay. This is
right?
key, I think, because people are going to say, well, it sounds like, life's just easy right now for you. But that's not the case.
No.
The case is that it's a state of being that is not attached to circumstance.
Yes. Yeah. Like I think there's taking in all this information like we do. For those of you that don't know Bridget and I closely, we are just take it all in, like as much as we can. We're always either reading or listening to podcasts, or taking in information that expands or deepens our understanding about what's happening here in the universe. Like we're just, and yeah, I think that there is this, recently there was this concept of being on the journey, and it's not about the destination, and and we say this, and I don't want you to be like, oh yeah, it's not about the destination, or it's not about the destination, it's the journey. Like, I'm talking deeply, understand this. I'm talking about, if that's the case, then what I've realized is it's not about getting the thing. Like, I'm just going to use an example. There's a group of us that want land, community land, and so we want to have people that we know and care about be on the same land together. And that's just one of the things that, I have going on, and you're part of this too, that we have this mutual dream. And one might say that until I get there, that I that's the destination. And so the journey is one of lack and scarcity, and I shouldn't be happy until I get there. But that's not the case. I'm actually really excited about the process. I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to be around other people that I'm learning from. Each moment until then, I'm savoring, because I recognize it as like we're all rushing to get to the end, and I'm not rushing to get to the end. I know what the end is, and I like it here. So I just want to enjoy every moment for what it is, right? I also think that I have this deep sense of contentment that I've also, like, I think I've always felt like I had to be a certain way to please people around me or to fit into this culture and society. And I love the city that I live in, and I love the community and the friends that I'm a part of. And I believe that there is, like, you make me feel like there's nothing that I could do. Like, you make me feel like that who I am is enough. And so there's a deep sense of rest that comes from that I'm enough, given everything that's around me. And that includes to me. I love who I am and what I'm creating in my life. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, but their life isn't my cup of tea. And I'm finally okay with, I'm doing the best I can, and I really love the life that I'm creating and the choices that I'm making, right? There's like a peace with that. So I don't want to do anything different, even though it may not be like what other people would say is successful. There's like this deep moment to moment rest and happiness and satisfaction that comes from, I don't feel like I need to be anywhere else or doing anything different. I'm just continuing to grow and try to be better. But that's enough.
I want to say the realization that I had as you were talking about this was that we can either choose to feel contentment and gratitude and fulfillment when we arrive somewhere, or we can choose to feel it within ourselves in each moment. And I don't know about anybody else who's listening, but every time I've ever tried to put that contentment and fulfillment outside of myself into a circumstance or a destination, it's always come up short because it's not permanent.
Right.
But the present and myself and my connection to all of this that is, that's always with me. And when I learned to shift that fulfillment and that gratitude and that contentment to myself right here, right now, then it's always accessible and I don't have to wait to feel it.
Yeah. You asked earlier, like what it takes to get there, right? Like this, and one of the things that you just reminded me of was I never feel alone. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm bored," or I'm like, I don't get bored because even if I'm just by myself and I'm alone, I never feel alone. I always feel like this deep connection, the spiritual source and energy. I always like, and who's better company than that? I mean, like, there's like, it's like getting the best company ever always with you. And when people say that they're bored, I'm always like, well, wait, source is always around us. We literally can just tune in. And so I think that's a big shift for me too, is that, and I'm an introvert, so I love being alone, but it's a different kind of alone, not alone, right? It's like this, it's like this, like when I was younger, it was a conditional relationship that I had with this source. And now it feels like I'm truly like, I feel like the universe sees me for who I am and is like, and I believe that for everybody. I believe everybody is being fully seen for who they are. But I enjoy the choices that I'm making now, and it feels really good inside. And it feels like the universe is also pleased at my desire and willingness to expand. Right. And when I miss the mark, I don't feel judged. I feel like we're both like, that didn't work. So I feel less stress, right? I feel like I used to worry about what other people or organizations or what other sources needed of me. And now I feel like I'm creating a life that it's like, it's relational. It's really all about like showing up for other people and myself and expanding in ways that contributes in a way that I can feel really good about, right? Like whatever small or whatever scope that it has, it like it doesn't matter. It's like I just trust that it's proportionate to what it was meant to be. Like I'm not responsible for the outcome.
Sorry, I'm all four of my children have now joined the conversation on this end.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I want to ask you when you get to a space, I would like to ask you, have you ever experienced anything like what I'm describing? Because I've never heard somebody else describe it quite this way. It doesn't mean that I don't think people have experienced it. It just means that I'd love to talk to more people who have. So have you ever had those like full days of like moment to moment satisfaction that wasn't contingent upon a vacation
Yeah.
or your external circumstances or the people around you, but it was just a normal day, but it felt like a spectacular normal day?
Yeah, and I'm sure I have. And what comes to mind isn't necessarily the entire days, but the really, like you said, like really everyday mundane type moments where I've been like totally in love with life. So like uh running outside in a summer rain with my kids in the backyard. Like just because we felt like it, and just being ridiculous and having so much, like literally so much joy, my body could barely handle it. Like I was so happy. Um, just little things like that. And it happens all the time. Like it happens a lot in nature. Like when I'm climbing a tree, like I get super, super present, or not even just a tree, like climbing rocks or hiking, like I just get, it's like time slows down and I can hear everything really clearly. And it's just me and the feeling of like the step under my foot and the sound and the smell and like being really present with it.
Mhm.
It's like those things. And I think I honestly feel that more often than not now at this point, even though my life is far from perfect or eventless, you know,
Yeah.
but it's just little things. It's like, you know, being interrupted by kids and watching the joy that's on their faces when they hug, you know, getting a hug. Um, yeah, I would chalk it up to, you said that having that experience of getting to feel God's presence and that peace in a really difficult moment was kind of what unlocked the beginning of you getting to see that this was possible. And I think for me, it was all these little dips into that liminal space, like where the veil is super, super thin, that started to make me see that there's like this underlying energetic signature in everything. Like being present for multiple births that I got to attend, it's like there is a stillness and a quiet that you cannot even describe unless you're there and you're present for it.
Is it the same as death
I
or
would have
similar?
to believe so, yeah, because the
Yeah.
veil is super thin. It's like an energetic body entering or exiting this plane of existence. It's like you can tell that there are other entities present. Like, you know, and even having gotten to birth my children myself, like I had experience with some really mystical things that took place during birth that felt like, whoa, I'm not doing this alone.
Mm.
Like there's something else happening here and I just get to be a part of it. So it was that, and it was also my own experience of coming close to death that made me realize how precious and how sacred every little bit of life is. I mean, I don't even care how I appear to people anymore. Like,
Or
I'm
you
just
just
so
show up with masks
grateful.
on.
I'm just so grateful for every little bit of life and getting to experience it and be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think something that stands out for me, and it's just something that I'm sharing with others, that is something that I'm going through, that I feel like would probably resonate with people, is that when we trust that a practice that other people who've seen the long-term benefit of this practice, when somebody says to us, "Oh, meditation changed my life," which how many people in the last 3 years have said meditation changed or saved my life, right? Um, when somebody says, I did this Reiki, and it was just a completely transformative experience. When somebody's describing something to us and they describe it as transformative or life changing or life sustaining, that always piques my interest, because it's a practice that, if just like any practice, if we do it once, if I tried basketball and I shoot the shot and I miss the goal, of course I missed the goal. I just practiced one time. But when I practice it 10 times I might make more. When I practice it 20 times, I might make more. When I practice it 100 times, I might make more. It's like the more we practice, the more that things become innately second nature to us. And I think that's what that's, I think that's why I want to share this experience, is because I didn't know I was going to wake up that day, and I didn't know that I was going to feel like that all day long. But it did something when I recognized that it was like every time I tuned in and I dialed in, I was just happy and content. And for those of you that maybe don't know if that's possible for you, I think I would say it is. Because if I know what it's like to feel not that way, but yet I do feel that way, then you can know what it feels like to not feel that way and to feel that way. But stuff doesn't happen spontaneously without effort. We have to ask ourselves, how much do we want that experience? And for me, there's nothing more important than being connected to source as much as possible while I'm here. I don't know why. I can just tell you that everything in me says that. I want to be as connected to source as much as possible. That's how I'm wired. And the more I experience it, the more I want it, because there's this deep sense of belonging no matter where I'm at. Because let's say I go somewhere where seemingly I don't belong, then that lack of these aren't my people tells me where my people are. So I never feel like, oh, I wonder why these aren't my people. I'm always like, it's almost like slow motion watching something and going, that was interesting, not here. But it deeply makes me have a sense of more belonging where I do belong, when I'm somewhere where it doesn't feel like this is my space. It's not like I'm mad that I don't fit in, and I'm not sad, and I'm not angry. It's just data. It's like everything is just data. And so I say this because I believe that we can all have that kind of, and if that's your bag, if it's not your bag, okay. But if you're interested in feeling more of the sweet marrow of life, I would just say then just feel more of the sweet marrow of life. It's literally a choice to see it around us. Maybe the first step for you is to, like, I've got this mug. This is the coolest mug. My friend Amanda, we did a mug swap, and she had like 12 mugs, and I gave her a mug that, she was all excited about. And I got this mug, and I got to tell you, just start with the texture, just the ridges on it, how beautiful it is, right? The underneath side of it, I love it. I would tip it a little bit more, but there's coffee in there. Um, so just looking at something and seeing it and going, why would I be thankful for this? Well, if I were going to start with this and think, because gratitude is the greatest thing that you can do to extend and cultivate your joy, then I would say, well, I'm grateful for this, number one, because I can feel the energetic energy of whoever made it. I don't know who they are, and I don't have to know who they are, but I know that they're a light being who put a lot of love into this. You can feel it in the craftsmanship of this piece. I love how it looks like the stars on the inside. They look like stars on the inside, and it looks like the rings of Saturn on the outside. It's like it's celestial. I love how it's got this little circular thing down here, right? I love that it carries my coffee, and that it actually keeps it warm, but not so hot that I can't touch it and hold it, but it's hot enough that it can warm me in the morning. So it's like the perfect, perfect heat. I love the way that the handle is. I love that it's got this little lip that your thumb fits perfectly in, and you can hold it and it fits like this. It's like perfect. I love that it's light, and that it's not this heavy, clunky thing. I love that it's not so big that your coffee gets cold, but it's the perfect amount of coffee that it never gets cold if you drink it at like the perfect pace, which is what I do with this. That's just like off the top of my head. Like, find something that you keep around you. And I would say if you can't find it, well, number one, maybe throw it away. It's trash. Or donate it to the Goodwill because somebody else may love it. But you should love the things around you. Love the things around you. Like if you have 4 different colors, what do I love about these 4 different colors? How cool. The contrast, right? But just to start to see things around you more deeply and love them and be grateful for them for what they are. Like it's the little things like that that help us to start to that exercise helps us start to see um, everything around us in that way. We start looking for it instead of looking for what's wrong with everything. We start to look for what's right with everything. Right? I think I used to be in a world where we had to find everything that was wrong and we had to fix it and make it better. And now I'm in a world where everything just gets to be right and I get to see the beauty of it instead of having to fix everything around me. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I'm being paged right now.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
I would really be interested for those people listening right now. Have you had those moment to moment days or just like periods or stretches of time that you could identify with what I'm saying and you're like, "Yes, I felt that. I felt that before." Would you share that with us? Would you like put some notes out there, reach out to us on our email, our information's in the show notes. But I'm really interested in learning more and talking more about this because I feel like we all learn from each other. I mean, that's what this whole exercise is to start a conversation. Anytime we're talking, we're trying to just start a conversation and hope that you're extending this wherever you are. Um, and sharing this with other people and taking it further, right? So thanks for entertaining my experience and um and for sharing in that.
yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. It was really special to hear and to get to be a part of. And a special thank you to Asheville artist Melissa Moss for our cover art. You can learn more about Melissa and her work at melissamossart.com. Thank you to Cloud Cult for our intro and outro music from their song, There's So Much Energy in Us. Learn more about them at cloudcult.com. And to all of our listeners and viewers, we send you peace, love, and light.